Okay, we're here looking at Robert Kegan's book, In Over Our Heads. It was written in 1994, and I've been reading this book for my independent study. And here's the chart from the inside of the book. Kegan talks about 5 orders of consciousness, and I want to see if I can sketch this out in a sketch kind of way that will make sense to me, and hopefully it might make sense to you. So the first thing I want to do is just start sketching. Kegan talks about the 5 orders of consciousness in regard to human development. And so the first order of consciousness is really about children. The little guy I'm drawing here is first order of consciousness is really between like 2 years old and 6 years old. You see, I've got a little dog, and the dog turns into a dragon because dragons are awesome. And when you're a small child, there's really no difference. There's no separation between our imagination and our reality. So over here, I've got a little fairy, and the fairy's doing pixie dust. And I'm going to start coloring this guy in now. And so the point about this kind of consciousness is that there is no barrier between reality and imagination. They all come from our mind. Okay, I'll move this over a little bit. Now, Kegan, in each of these 5 orders, he talks about 3 different lines of development. The first is the cognitive line, and he uses purple to indicate the cognitive line. That is how we process things. So what we've got here is in the first order of consciousness, there's perceptions. We're just perceiving things around us. We're not distinguishing them. Now, the second order line of development is in green, and these are the interpersonal lines. And at the first order of consciousness, we have social perceptions where we can tell that there are people around us, but they kind of blur with our fantasy. Then the third kind line of development is red, which is the intrapersonal line. And this is how we deal with ourself. And at the first order of consciousness, everything is really built upon impulses. We don't really distinguish ourself as a self. So this is what Kegan calls the first order of consciousness. So I'm going to move this over here, and you'll see what I'm going to do now is that the thing about these consciousness, these orders, is that they enfold each other. So you can see this first order of consciousness is inside the mind of this next figure. And this character is getting a little bit bigger. And hey, there's a second character, and this character is separate from the first, and there's a dog and there's a tree, and what's happening, you can see in this second character that the subject is now looking at the objects, but the object has within it the first order of consciousness. And that's a big thing, the subject-object differences. And what's really going on here in this second order of consciousness is that the subject is now being able to distinguish what he calls durable categories. You'll see that we've got concrete cognition, we've got point of view in the interpersonal, and then enduring dispositions, needs, and preferences within ourself. Now, he calls these things durable categories. This second order of consciousness happens between ages 6 and 10. These are elementary school age kids that are dealing with these durable categories. And it's an important phase where these kids are smart, they can repeat facts, but the world is very concrete. And this is what the second order of consciousness is all about. Now, I'm going to move this over to the side here, and you'll see that we've got the second order, which has the first order in it, goes into the mind of the new character. Now you can see that this character is getting a little bit bigger. the subject is now in adolescence, and the other object is also a subject, and this is a female. So now we have this distinction between male and female. We got to put inside the female's head there that she also has the first and second order of consciousness within her. And these the subject and object are now observing each other and understanding that there is this difference between them, but that they can communicate with one another. And so now we can deal in the realm of abstractions. We have mutuality and interpersonalism. We have inner state, subjectivity, and self-consciousness. And Kegan says this is cross-categorical and trans-categorical. And this is the third level of consciousness. At this point, Kegan starts doing something where he takes the levels of consciousness and he matches them up with historical epochs in Western society. And he says that third level consciousness is like traditionalism, where people see themselves in the role in society, but the society themselves is not obvious to their subject. And so that's third level consciousness. Now, these two have a relationship with each other, but I'm going to put a circle around these two, and it's going to become a bounded set where in the fourth order of consciousness, we start realizing that our own society is just a society among other societies, and that there are spaces in between these societies. Now, you see our fourth order character, he's getting a little older. This is a middle-aged person. But notice that this person is once again outside. The subject is now outside of the objects and observing. This is modernism. The idea that there is such a thing as objective knowing. We can see abstract systems. We understand institution and relationship regulating forms. And we are aware of ourself. So it's all about self-regulation, self-authorship, and self-formation. This is fourth order consciousness. Now, Kegan's title for his book is In Over Our Heads. And an important thing to remember is what he's saying is that in order for adults to actually survive in the modern era, they have to develop fourth order consciousness to be able to see systems as objects, to come outside of them, to see them, how they fit together. But he said that now, in the late 20th century, in late modernism, or what some people call postmodernism, we're faced with a new challenge. You'll notice that the modernist fourth order person was a middle-aged character. Well, now people are living longer, and there is a sense of wisdom from age that's developing in our cognition and in our realization that the modern era of the subject being an objective observer is really false. And so in this fifth order of consciousness that only comes with maturity, we start seeing that there is this interconnectedness between subject, object, and subject, and that it is no longer that there is one object, one person is a complete autonomous self, while the other person is a complete autonomous self, and that in their relationship, they choose to come into relationship with one another. But what fifth order consciousness is starting to see is that it is only in the relationship between the subjects that the true fullness of the subject comes into being. And as you can see, this older man and woman, they're now holding hands. They are connected in a very special way that goes beyond this detached observation of the other, but they connect. And you see that I've painted everything blue, but now we're going to see that a new phenomenon happens, that they start, by their interconnection with each other, they actually bring out a difference in each other, and they're changing each other's color. They become more of who they really are by being interconnected with each other. And then you can see that this goes beyond just individuals in relationship with each other, but also within systems. Each system, as the modernist understood, each system is its own system, but those systems are intertwined with each other. They're not separate with spaces in between, but the systems need to understand that they're interwoven, and that as they seek to understand each other, their colors merge and mesh, and they see that all of reality is shaped by the relationship between them. So this is what he calls a dialectical cognition, with interinstitutional relationship between forms, a transformational interpenetration of selves. This is the fifth order of consciousness, which is postmodernism. Okay, now Kegan uses a metaphor, an analogy from geometry to help us understand how these orders work. First of all, you have a single point. That's what the first order of consciousness is like. But if you have a line is actually made up of several points. And a plane is made up of several lines, and that is third order. So you have first, second, and third order of consciousness. Now, if you have several planes put together, it makes up a three-dimensional space called a cube or a box, and that is fourth order consciousness. And, I was trying to figure out what is fifth order consciousness, and I was talking to my son about it, and he said, it's kind of like a tesseract. So we went online, and let's look up what a tesseract is. And you'll see that a tesseract is something where it's beyond three dimensions, where these dimensions, these three-dimensional objects, are actually interwoven and interpenetrating each other. So I'm wondering if perhaps fifth order consciousness is a tesseract to its box, as a box is to its plane, as a plane is to its line, and as a line is to its points on that line. So I think we've done it. This is Robert Kegan's 5 Orders of Consciousness.